Hey guys, today is December 13th, and we now have the United States in a worst deal in the history of bad deals. We also have Twitter releasing more internal documents proving that they had red flags for the most prominent conservatives in order to suppress their tweets. And last but not least, we have Project Veritas exposing a private school in Chicago called Francis W. Parker School. All of that and more on this episode.
I got facts over tracks, this and that, spitting slow, spitting fast, I could roast, I could gas, think I'm okay at last, but I don't know if that can erase all the past.
Starting off with this simple fact, I told you so. I told you that conservatives were being discriminated against, and we were all saying it for years, but nobody wanted to listen. Also, Elon Musk said that the reason why day one of the thread of the Twitter files took so long is because one of the people handing info over to these journalists was part of the FBI. They were going through all of the papers and internal letters and proofreading them and scanning them to make sure it didn't say anything he doesn't want it to say. Let's continue with Bari Weiss, which is a journalist investigating Twitter files part 2. Okay, so we're going to start with Bari Weiss, which is BARIWEISS on Twitter if you want to look up her profile. So we're beginning. Thread, the Twitter files part 2. Twitter's secret blacklists. So, a new #Twitter Files investigation reveals that teams of Twitter employees built blacklists, prevent disfavored tweets from trending, and actively limit the ability and visibility of entire accounts or even trending topics, all in secret without informing users. Number 2, Twitter once had a mission to give everybody the power to create and share ideas and information instantly without barriers. It's their quotes, not mine. Along the way, barriers nonetheless were erected. Take for example, Stanford's Dr. J on Twitter, who argued that COVID lockdowns would harm children. Twitter secretly placed him on a trends blacklist, which prevented his tweets from trending. If you can see here, you can see that recent abuse strike, trends blacklist, and strike counts 0. You can see the account right here, so this is actually the back end of Twitter. Or consider the popular right-wing talk show host Dan Bongolo, who at one point was slapped with a search blacklist. And you can see notification spike, search blacklist, Twitter blue verified multiple accounts, NSFW view SPMA, public enemy number 1, which is his bio. So that's actually a true thing. If you're being actively search blacklisted, then yeah, you are public enemy number 1. So his bio is actually correct. Twitter set the account of conservative activist Charlie Kirk to do not amplify. So you can see that on his account, he has a recent abuse strike, notification spike, multiple accounts, strike count number 0, do not amplify. And you can see all of these, and then 2 others, which they didn't show. Twitter denied it does such things in 2018. Twitter's Viva Gade, then head of legal policy and trust, in Kayvon Bikepour, head of product, said, "We do not shadow ban." They added, "And we certainly do not shadow ban based off of political viewpoints or ideology." That's her quote, not mine, which that was a blatant lie looking back. What many people call shadow banning, Twitter executives and employees call visibility filtering, or VF. Multiple high-level sources confirmed its meaning. Think about visibility filtering as a way for us to suppress what people see to different levels. It's a very powerful tool, one senior employee told us. VF refers to Twitter's control over visibility. It used VF to block searches for individual users, to limit scope of particular tweets' discoverability, to block select users' posts from ever appearing on the trending page, and from inclusion on hashtag searches, all without users' knowledge. We control visibility quite a bit, and we control the implication of your content quite a bit. And normal people do not know as much as we do, one Twitter engineer told us. 2 additional Twitter employees confirmed. The group that decided whether to limit the search of certain users was a strategic response team, global escalations team, or SRTGET. It often handled up to 200 cases a day. But these existed a level beyond official ticketing, beyond the rank and file moderators following the company's policy on paper. That is, the Site Integrity Policy Escalation Support, known as SIPPES. This secret group included head of legal policy and trust, Viva Gade, and the global head of trust safety, Yul Roth, which we talked about last time, subsequent CEOs, Jack Dorsey and Craig Argall, and others. This is where the biggest, most political sensitive decisions got made. Think high follower count, controversial, and Twitter employees told us for these, there would be no ticket or anything. One of these accounts rose to the level of security was Libs of TikTok, an account that was on the Trends blacklist and was designated as do not take action on user without consulting with SIPPES. That's exactly all of the stuff that they have on the top and as a huge warning. You can also see that on Libs of TikTok, you can also see notification spike, Trends blacklist, recent abuse strikes, strike count 2, Twitter blue verified, multiple accounts, high profile. You can see all of these. You can see that the identity is protected, and you can see that the IP address is protected. But you can see all of these other things. The account, which Krya Richek began in 2020 November, and now boasts over 1.4 million followers, was subjected to 6 suspensions in 2022 alone. Richek says, each time Richek was blocked from posting for as long as a week. Twitter reportedly informed Richek that she had been suspended for violating Twitter's policy against hateful content. But an internal SIPPES memo from October 2022, after her 7th suspension, the committee acknowledged that LTT has not directly engaged in behavior violative of hateful content policy. See here. If you could see here, site policy recommendation. Site policy recommends placing Libs of TikTok LTT 1.3 million followers not verified in a 7-day timeout for at the level, meaning not for a specific tweet, based on the account's continued pattern of indirectly violating Twitter's hateful conduct policy by tweeting content that either leads or intends to incite harassment against individuals and institutes that support LGBTQ communities. At this time, site policy has not found explicitly violative tweets, which would result in a permanent suspension of the account. This type of enforcement action, repeated 7-day timeouts at the account level, will not lead to permanent suspension. However, should LTT engage in any other direct tweet level violations of any of the site's policies, we will move forward with permanent suspension. Assessment. Since its most recent timeout, while LTT has not directly engaged in behavior violative of the hateful content policy, the user has continued targeting individuals / allies / supporters of the LGBTQIA+ community, community for alleged misconduct. The targeting of at least one of these institutions. So they're just targeting Libs of TikTok because Libs of TikTok is just posting all of these libs that are on TikTok. How's that a bad thing? If you didn't want these things being out here, why are you even posting them at the very beginning? It just does not make sense. The committee justified her suspensions internally by claiming her posts engaged online harassment of hospitals and medical providers, that's their quotes, not mine, by insinuating that gender-affirming healthcare is equivalent to child abuse or grooming, which it is. Comparing this to what happened with Richek herself, was doxed on November 21, 2022. A photo of her home with her address was posted in a tweet that generated more than 10,000 likes. When Richek told Twitter that her address had been disseminated, she says Twitter support responded with this message. We reviewed the content and didn't find it to be in violation of the rules. No action was taken, and the doxing tweet is still up. Hello, thanks for reaching out. We reviewed this content and didn't find it in violation of these rules. In this case, no action will be taken on this time. If you have further concerns about intellectual property, your privacy, or your personal safety, the following guidelines can be of assistance. In internal Slack message, Twitter employees spoke of using technicalities to restrict the visibility of tweets and subjects. Here's Yoel Roth, Twitter's then global head of trust and safety, in a direct message to a colleague in early 2021. Yoel Roth, a lot of times has used technicality spam enforcements as a way to solve a problem created by safety under enforcing their policies, which again isn't a problem per se, but it keeps us from addressing the root cause of an issue, which is that our safety policies need more attention. 6 days later, in a direct message with an employee on health misinformation, privacy, and identity research team, Roth requested more research to support expanding non-removal policy interventions like disabling engagements and de-amplification, visibility filtering slash visibility filtering. One of the biggest areas I'd love research support on is non-removal policy interventions like disabling engagements and disamplification slash visibility filtering. The hypothesis underlining much of what we've implemented is that if exposure to, e.g., misinformation directly causes harm, we should use remedications that reduce exposure, and limiting the spread / virality of content is a good way to do that by just reducing prevalence overall. We got Jack on board by implementing this for civic integrity in our near term. But we're going to need to make sure more robust case to get this into the repertoire of policy remedications, especially for other policy domains. So I'd love research's point of view on that. Roth wrote, the hypothesis underlining much of what we've implemented is that if exposure to, e.g., misinformation directly causes harm, we should use remedications that reduce exposure, and limiting the spread / virality of content is a good way to do that. There is more to come on this story, which was reported by all of these people that she tagged and the team, the Free Press. Keep up with the unfolding of the story here at our brand new website. So yeah, they do shadow ban, because if you cannot search somebody and you have a search ban on your account, that's shadow banning because you cannot find the account. It's just so obvious, but obviously they call it something else. So let's dig into Bad Driver Spotlight. Is actually a segment that I have not yet done on this show, but I used to do it on my other podcast. So without further ado, let's dig in. I don't usually have this segment, but today it is needed. So to give some background, I'm a delivery driver. So I'm always driving and I see a lot of things and people, but most of these people actually have a peanut-sized brain to actually think first. Well, partly. But this time wasn't like all of the other times. Let's start at the very beginning. I was getting off the highway close to where I live, and there's a rotary. For those that do not know, a rotary is this big circle-like road that has a lot of exits. Next to those exits, you have entrances, and you can come right on those rotary. You can get on this rotary to get somewhere faster than an intersection. The one that I was on has 2 lanes, one for staying on the rotary and one for getting off. But every exit on the rotary has 2 lanes, so you can use it if you're on the inside lane or the outer lane. So it doesn't matter which lane you're in, you can still get on or off every single exit using those 2 lanes. That's exactly how everybody else uses it, and that's how I am using it. Getting to the story, I was on the outer lane and I passed one of the exits and I was starting to get near the exit to which I needed to take, when somebody just cuts in front of me from the left lane, cuts in front of me, gets to the right lane and just stops there. Mind you, there's 2 lanes for getting off the rotary and getting on the street, so this made no sense to me. So I beeped the horn like a normal person would do, but the person wouldn't move. So I decided to go back into the left lane and go around this person. When I did, I looked over to see what kind of stupid I was dealing with, and I still don't have an answer for that. But what I do know is that stupid people should need to take more road tests than the rest of us, because honestly, we do not need to deal with these people. Now, on that note, let's dig into a dozen takes to see all of these other stupid point of views, mostly from the first two.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take sh- I got no love.
Okay, so digging right in, we have a CNN article. We have yes to masks, no to mandates. Okay, so this is according to CNN. Americans have moved on from COVID-19, but the disease has not gone away. In China, the government has finally begun to ease zero COVID policies. Meanwhile, in the United States, most Americans are resigned to the idea that COVID-19 will not be gone in their lifetime, as many feel a return to mask is unpleasant. The current rise in COVID-19 cases is one leg of a triple threat, a tridemic, or a tripledemic, or a trifecta, as some news organizations are calling it. But you know what I call it? A big horse pile of shit. Okay, that's what I call it. Because COVID-19 is nothing to worry about, especially if you're younger. But we do have flu season, so the flu has always been around, obviously. The RSV outbreak RSV has always been a thing, so I don't know why anybody thought that RSV was going anywhere either. RSV has always been a thing, and RSV will always be a thing. The flu has always been a thing, and it never will go anywhere, because these are viruses that cannot go anywhere. People can always get sick no matter who you are. You can be the healthiest person in the world, The Rock. You can be the healthiest person in the world, work out every single day, run a mile, do all these other things, take your vitamin C, but you can still get sick. We're humans. But you know what we have to do when we get sick? Fight off the cold alone. We need to fight off the cold because your immune system gets stronger over time. If your immune system gets sick, your body knows now how to fight off that cold if you ever do get it in the future. That's exactly what we've known for years. So why is it that COVID-19 has changed our point of view on viruses? Why has COVID-19 changed the way that we treat viruses in this aspect? We have always treated viruses the exact same thing by staying home if you're sick, by all of these other measures. If you want not to get sick, then you need to take vitamin C, vitamin D, all these other things. You go outside, you don't lock yourself in the room because your immune system will not be strong anymore if you lock yourself in the room. You need to go out in the real world, get some of that bacteria, get some of the viruses that other people are spreading. And yes, you may get sick, but you're living your life like a normal person. You cannot lock yourself in your room and expect to just be well off in the long term. You're not going to be well off in the long term. You are going to have an immune system deficiency, and you will not be able to fight off the colds of the most common colds, like the flu. You will not be able to fight off the most common colds that we've had for years, that everybody gets sick from, but almost nobody dies from. So, what does CNN say about the CDC guidance on this? Well, the official United States government guidance for individuals has not changed since September. Okay, then. So why are we talking about this now? Not talking about mandates. Dr. Anthony Fauci, the outgoing director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases and President Joe Biden's top medical advisor, has also talked about this, about the need to mask up during his final White House briefing. Well, you're fired, so nobody can listen to you. You failed us as the American people, so you need to leave, you little mole rat. Use common sense, they say. Well, we've been using common sense, but you tell us not to. He retired that sentiment in an exit interview with NBC News. Wow, we've been using common sense since the very beginning. Dr. Fauci, what have you been using? Because common sense isn't so common anymore. Common sense has not been common since before 2019. At 2019, 2020, and 2021, we've had screamed in our face mad people, angry people, because of the fact that we are not wearing masks. If we are using common sense in evaluating the situation as we go, you will know that if somebody is sick, you then social distance away from them. You say, okay, I will not go next to you. You need a bowl of soup. You need some chicken noodle soup. You need some whatever. You need to get better. But you're not going to go over and walk around everywhere, cough all over the fruits in the grocery store. You're not going to go do all those things. But you know what CNN says? Don't feel guilty. The personal evaluation is important, he said, because different people have different risks. A reporter at the White House brief argued the word masking has become projective in some places. No, it shouldn't be, Fauci said. I know sometimes when you walk in and you have a mask and nobody has a mask, you feel kind of guilty. You shouldn't feel guilty. No, you should feel guilty because it's 2022. Okay, it's 3 years after this quote pandemic has formed. But you know what you're doing? You're sitting here with your mind-controlled little diaper, your little chin diaper over your whole entire face when nobody's getting sick. If people are getting sick, nobody's dying. People have largely moved on, and so should you. Okay, CNN, you should move on too. Moving on to the next article, we have MSNBC. Republicans kept handing Ye a microphone. It's a bit too late to take it back. Well, yeah, I agree with that. But the thing is that Republicans should never have said, oh, Kanye West is our ally. No, Kanye West put on a MAGA hat and supported some of our values. Kanye West is not a conservative at all. He is not even a Republican. He just supported Trump. That is not saying that he aligns with the Republican Party. It's not saying that he aligns with the Conservative Party. He more aligns with the lib section of the aisle. He now classifies as a Democrat. I mean, if he does not classify as a Democrat, it doesn't matter what he classifies as. It only matters what you align yourself as. And we know from the history of the United States that the KKK was founded by a Democrat. So if you want to say that white supremacists are one side of the aisle, yeah, it's Democrat because the KKK founder was a Democrat. Ye's horrifying appearance, according to MSNBC Thursday, on the Alex Jones InfoWars livestream, in which he shared his admiration for Hitler and Nazis, marked a new frontier in his mainstreaming of anti-Semitism. But rather than evaluating this episode in isolation, we must take a hard look at the system that helped propel Ye to the level of fame and influence and sobering present of America as president in media-hungry bigots who have used their hate to embrace power before him. Okay, so you're going to talk about Ye as being a bigot. MSNBC, you're literally the definition of a bigot. We should be cautious about letting former supporters and activists wash their hands of Ye so early or easily. Okay, so Ye says something that is way out of proportion. He has a mental problem. He's going through a manic episode. And just because you're saying that you don't agree with the fact that Ye said he loves Hitler, you can't wash your hands with Ye? Who are you, MSNBC? I mean, I guess that we can see the Marcia Kabas, which is the MSNBC opinion columnist that actually wrote this. I mean, who are you to say that? Anybody can wash their hands with anybody at any time for any reason. We have our First Amendment protections, so I don't know who you are. She continues, yes, we may be witnessing a radical shift in Ye's public persona, but by all accounts, this is who he's always been. No, it has not always been what he has always been. You're just dumb. You cannot follow along with what he's doing. We can all follow along with what he's doing. He's having a manic episode. He has not always been like this. What you mean to say is that he's always been meaning to do the opposite of what is perceived to be good. And he just keeps going above and above and above the last thing that he does. The very first thing that he did was support Trump, and everybody was like, what? How would you do that? And then next he comes out and he says whoa, what? Why would you do that? And then he comes out, whoa, and then he always does that. And then now, where's he going to go from here? He always does the same exact thing. So why are we acting shocked when he does? This is what you mean by that. He has not always been a Hitler supporter. He's always been a person that does not want to comply with the standards at which America, or more the United States, or more, not just, you know what I mean, not just America, but the whole entire world has set forth for him to follow. He does not want to follow those standards. That's what you mean to say. But moving on, we have the next MSNBC article. We have Kyrsten Sinema going independent could also mean going right forward. The Arizona senator will need to rely more on donors and voters with conservative demands. So, after years of bucking the Democratic Party establishment, Senator Kyrsten Sinema of Arizona has announced that she is leaving the party and registering as an independent. She insists that nothing will change about my values or my behavior. That's her quotes and not mine. Maybe so, but the reality is the move is likely to incentivize her to become more conservative and beholden to corporate interests. Sinema's move to official independence from the Democratic Party is a shocking but not surprising development in the American policies. During the Biden administration, Sinema's often energetic objections to the president's legislative agenda has played a key role in derailing or watering down progressive Democratic policy goals, which have required her sign-off in a 50-50 Senate. Now, just days after elections, Democrats have secured a slightly more comfortable 51-seat majority in the Senate, with Senator Raphael Warnock runoff in Georgia. It is both dismaying and entirely apropos that she's chosen to bid farewell to the Democrats. She remains a thorn in the side of a party desperate for cooperation. By exiting the party, Sinema can avoid being ousted from within the party. No, she wants to be ousted by the Democratic Party. She does not align herself with the Democratic Party whatsoever. That's exactly why she is getting away from the Democratic Party and becoming an independent. That's exactly what other people are doing within the Democratic Party, because they do not want to be in the same exact sail that is sinking into sea with the Democrats. They do not want to be on the same exact sail, or they do not want to be on the same exact boat when everybody is drowning in the 2024 election. They know that Republicans are well off, but they know that Republicans do not have the power to actually win these elections quite yet, because of the fact that we, the Republicans on this side of the aisle, have a lot to do on candidate quality. We need to realize that candidate quality matters. We need to realize that the reason why we are not winning these elections is frankly because of the fact that our candidates that we keep choosing are awful. And we need to realize this very quick if we want to start winning elections again. With that being said, we have an NPR article. Because of Wisconsin's abortion ban, one mother gave up trying for another child. Wow, just because you can't kill your first child, you give up on your second? Oh, poor thing. Listen, I'm not even going to read this article because you're just so stupid. Next article, we have the Club Q suspect's bomb threat case was dismissed because victims wouldn't testify. Wow, victims wouldn't testify because of the fact that it would make everybody in the LGBTQ community look very bad, because the Club Q suspect was LGBTQ. So, moving on, right past on here, we have the suspect in last month's Club Q shooting was arrested last year on felony charges, but the case never made it to trial because the suspect's relatives, wouldn't testify, Colorado authorities said Thursday. The Club Q shooter was accused of fatally shooting 5 people and wounding 17 others at the gay nightclub in Colorado Springs last month. Prosecutors charged Aldridge, who uses they/them pronouns, with 305 criminal counts on Tuesday. And on Thursday, Colorado authorities in newly unsealed court documents confirmed that it wasn't the first time the 22-year-olds faced criminal charges. A court dismissed 5 felony charges against the shooter 4 months before the Club Q shooting. So if they did not dismiss these charges, then the Club Q shooting would have never happened. This is exactly what we mean when we need to be tough on crime. We need to be tough on these people because of the fact that they do it one time, they're going to do it many times. So, moving on to the next article, we have a Fox News article. Now, if Fox News would cooperate with me, I would love to... Oh my God, they want me to enable ads. Okay, so non-binary Biden official Sam Brinton accused of grand larceny amid separate theft charges. Brinton is facing similar charges for allegedly stealing a bag at Minnesota airport in September. The non-binary Biden administration official who oversees nuclear waste policy was charged with grand larceny in Nevada, the second time they have been accused of theft. Okay, he has been accused of theft. Why is Fox News going along with this stupid non-binary pronouns? Why is Fox News going along with this? It's just stupid. They is more than one person. Why are you saying they for one person? In 3 months, according to state court records, Samuel Brinton, the Department of Energy's DOE, the Deputy Assistant Secretary for Spent Fuel and Waste Disposition, was charged Thursday with grand larceny of an item valued between $1,200 and $5,000 by Las Vegas prosecutors. Records showed that an arrest warrant was issued for Brinton, one of the few federal officials to identify as non-binary. Few other details were provided in records, and the Clark County, Nevada District Attorney's Office declined to comment on the matter. Of course they would, because of the person that they are dealing with. The bald, non-binary guy dressed as in a woman, as a woman. Why would they comment on that? I wouldn't. Brinton is scheduled to appear at a court hearing in Minnesota State Court later this month to face similar charges from a September incident at the Minneapolis St. Paul Airport. MSP police accused Brinton of stealing a suitcase worth $2,325 from an MSP baggage console September 16, according to a criminal complaint filed October 26. After a woman complained that her Vera Bradley bag was missing on September 16, MSP police reviewed security footage and observed Brinton taking the luggage before removing its tag and hurrying away. Brinton was then observed using the same bag on 2 subsequent trips to Washington, D.C., and acknowledged taking the bag in an interview with police, but blamed tiredness, which makes no sense. Have you ever been so tired that you walk over to the bag console and you just take a bag that doesn't belong to you and then just take the tag off and like scurry away? What, have you ever been so tired that you did that? No. I travel almost every single year, maybe 2 times a year, and I never do this. Shortly after Brinton was charged, the DOE quietly placed Brinton on leave, but didn't offer any explanation. The agency confirmed Brinton was on leave after charges were first reported in late November. Okay, so Fox News, you have a typo in the article right here. Sam Brinton is on leave from DOE, and Dr. Tim Priddy is performing the duties of the Deputy Assistant Secretary of Spent Fuel and Waste Deposition. A DOE spokesperson previously told Fox News Digital the DOE, though, has refused to explain why Brinton is on leave or say whether Brinton remains on the agency's taxpayer-funded payroll. And of course, this man is going to be talking at the Trevor Project. Saving young LGBTQ lives. That's the Trevor Project. So stupid. Republican lawmakers expressed concern following the incident, arguing that Americans deserved more information about whether Brinton continues to receive government paychecks and if the DOE has revoked Brinton's security clearance. The reported details of Sam Brinton thrifty are bizarre and disturbing. Rep. Jim Brinks, R. Indiana, the chairman of the Republican Study Committee, told Fox News Digital in a statement after sending a letter December 2nd to DOE Secretary Jennifer Granholm demanding more information. Americans deserve transparency about who and what their taxpayer dollars are funding. Fox News, get out of here. You want to enable ads and then bore me with ads. Okay. So that's a picture of him right here. The Vera Bradley bandit. Senator John Barrasso of Wyoming, the chairman of the Senate Republican Conference and ranking member of the Senate Energy and National Resources Committee, also wrote to Granholm urging her to fire Brinton immediately, which she should have. In June, Brinton made headlines after being appointed to the position that oversees nuclear waste policy in the DOE's Office of Nuclear Energy as a non-binary gender fluid person. So you're just nothing, I guess. Brinton has also posted about being a member of the so-called Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence, a drag queen group. Okay. Local media outlet News 8 first reported on this. Okay. So it's just crazy that we have these people working for the United States government. Okay, continuing with the next article, we actually have a Breitbart article. We have Maxine Waters, GOP not concerned about being successful, only there to destroy Dems. Only there to destroy Dems, she says. Now, obviously, we don't have to do that because Democrats just destroy themselves. But continuing with the article, we have Representative Maxine Waters, Democrat from California, claimed Friday on MSNBC's All In that Republicans were not concerned about being successful because they got elected to Congress to destroy Democrat Party. Discussing the COVID aid bills, host Chris Hayes said, "Are you confident that a White House majority under Kevin McCarthy could do that? Should there be a national emergency like that? when the chips are down to deliver on a bipartisan basis, that kind of thing. Waters said, I am worried because in their caucus, in the Republican caucus, you have people who are associated with QAnon and the Oath Keepers and the Proud Boys. And these people are not concerned about being successful. They are concerned about trying to basically undo the Democratic Party, destroy the Democratic Party, and they will do anything. As a matter of fact, I am absolutely worried about our democracy. I'm worried that when the ex-president of the United States says that the Constitution of the United States must be waived in some way, that is a serious business. And of course, we have gone through January 6th, and we have gone through an insurrection. If we went through an insurrection, Maxine Waters, right, then we would actually have Republicans in the power of the White House. But we did not. We did not go through an insurrection on January 6th. And January 6th is a big Ponzi scheme for the Democratic Party because, like every other big thing that happens under the Republican Party, Democrats want to take advantage of it. Just like how Republicans take advantage of every single thing that the Democrats do wrong. That's how politics work. So obviously, we would see that from her. What has bothered me so much is that the other side of the aisle often talked about bipartisan patriotism, and they loved the flag, and they were more patriotic than anybody else. But watching what had taken place, I am stunned. You're stunned? Maxine Waters, you're stunned? You literally said that we, the people, have to scream in Congressman's face. You're stunned? That's hard to believe. And I am shocked that they would support those who invaded our capital, stand up and say, oh, that was not an invasion of the capital and was not an insurrection. That was not an insurrection, first of all. That was not an insurrection. I'm not Q, okay? That was not an insurrection, first of all. And second of all, the capital of the United States belongs to the people. That's what we've always been saying. It belongs to the people. So going inside of the Capitol, which is open every other day of the whole entire year, but they decided to close it on that day for some reason, and going to see inside of the Capitol, which most people stood within the lines, and then other people that were inside of the Capitol building were let in from the cops on the premises. So how are you going to go and say all of this how are you trying to connect these dots when there's no lines to actually connect the dots? You cannot connect these dots at all. Like I said last time, you're trying to fit a square peg into a circle hole and it's not fitting. Oh, that was not an invasion of the Capitol. That was not an insurrection. These are just protesters, doing the work of democracy. They have the right to do that. And I am shocked by all of that. Okay, so you're shocked by that. Okay, you're shocked by us, Republicans, going to the White House or the Capitol building on January 6th, right? You're shocked by that. You're shocked by us going straight to the root cause of the problem, which is the democracy. We're going to the Capitol building of the United States. We have a problem with the United States. We're going to the Capitol of the United States. And you have a problem with that. Okay, but what you do not have a problem with, and correct me if I'm wrong, you do not have a problem with Democrats going and spitting in Congressman's face. You do not have a problem with Democrats going to the House of the Supreme Court justices. You do not have a problem with all of these people burning down buildings in the middle of cities. You do not have a problem with people looting out of Targets and Walmarts. You do not have a problem with any of that. But you do have a problem with people making their voice heard, going straight to the root cause of the problem, and that is our democracy. You have a problem with that. No. What you do have a problem with is thinking straight. You do have a problem with your actual brain because you cannot think straight. You cannot think clearly, and you are so stunned of the fact that Republicans are actually making their voice heard the right way instead of the Democrats burning and looting. I can almost guarantee you that if Republicans were to burn and loot, you would be in full support of that. Probably not, but it's the same exact thing that you guys have been doing on that side of the aisle. Now, moving on to the next article, we have a Daily Wire article. We have how Disney could win back the trust of its lost conservative fans. Now, I really don't see this happening, but let's see. Disney's new chief executive sounded shocked. Disney's new chief executive shocked the business world last week by admitting that the company's previous opposition to parental rights legislation in Florida was a mistake. During a town hall meeting with employees, new Disney CEO Bob Iger expressed regret that his predecessor would be successor Bob Chapek positioned the company against legislation that bans instruction about sexual orientation and gender identity to students younger than grade 4. The move angered some consumers and resulted in Disney losing special regulatory and tax privileges in the Sunshine State. Iger, among his several admirations to the employees of the White House, suggested finding a delicate balance between telling stories and listening to audience members, and well as maintaining respect for the people that you are serving rather than disdain for them. However, the seasoned executive expressed doubt that hot-button topics that recently landed Disney in a nationwide controversy are overly, quote, political. Shares of Disney had fallen nearly 41% since the beginning of the year, while the Dow Jones Industrial Average has declined more than 7% over the same period. Jeremy Tetsuko, the senior vice president of the corporate engagement of Alliance Defending Freedom, remarked during an interview with the Daily Wire that consumers will need to witness concrete changes at Disney rather than mere lip service before the iconic brand regains their trust. Quote, I guess the proof will be in what actions he actually takes. Tetsuko said, nothing that Iger is more progressive in his personal politics than Chapek. Hopefully, he can be somebody who can rise above that and understand that he's got a duty to shareholders and employees. Indeed, evidence of consumer hesitance has appeared within some verticals at Disney over the past several months. Among other concerning metrics, the company reported a significant slowdown in a new domestic subscriptions for flagship streaming service Disney Plus after entering into a continuous political battle. Beyond backlash from shareholders and consumers, conservative employees released an open statement detailing the hostile work environment at the company, which has come to be an increasingly uncomfortable place to work for individuals whose political and religious views are not explicitly progressive. Tetsuko observed that a hostile work environment discourages talent, representing a liability for Disney. If you just commit to the fact that we have a broad set of beliefs respected in our employee base, and so we're not going to engage in these things, that will be a boon to the employees, he said. They're going to feel much more engaged, and not demoralized like they are now. The employees noted the success of highly popular offerings such as historical musical Hamilton and Star Wars spin-off The Mandalorian, and examples of the company's ability to unify Americans of all walks of life. Some more recent releases have been far more polarizing and have accordingly been touched in the marketplace. Strange World, an animated film featuring a homosexual teen romance, fizzled in the box office during what would have been a strong holiday weekend opening. Lightyear, the latest installment of the popular Toy Story franchise, featured a homosexual kiss and likewise struggled among moviegoers. Disney is an object lesson for getting out over your skis when it comes to pushing things outside of your business interests, Tetsuko observed. The entertainment conglomerate is not alone in its zeal for political activism. Executives who ascribe to the environmental, social, and governance movement, also known as ESG, routinely enact policies such as carbon emissions registrations and corporate diversity audits, even if such gestures are harmful to profits. Asset management companies such as BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street, which own a combined 15% of shares in Disney, have frequently consolidated market power to engage ESG initiatives within their portfolio companies. If Disney is going to start pulling back from ESG and this bipartisan and all of this partisan politicking on behalf of Disney as a corporation, I think it would be very good ultimately for the broader business community. Tredsco remarked, I think the bottom line is that we will see what he actually has in mind. It's one thing to say a few things from a stage, which as encouraging as they were couched. They were a little vague. It was certainly not clear what he was saying or what the concrete steps would be. They have to take concrete steps to demonstrate that they are serious about rejecting the partisanship pressure game that is ESG and internal employee activism. Alliance Defending Freedom unveiled a viewpoint diversity score innovative earlier this year, consulting an effort to track corporate respect diversity. Tredsco said that the scores were remarkably low in the inaugural analysis, even though companies can adopt a handful of simple measures if they desire to improve their standing. One easily implementable policy is that the reversal of prohibitions on employees donating to religious nonprofits in matching gift programs. As long as Iger neglects to show the marketplace that Disney will begin to respect diversity throughout. According to Tredsco, consumers are not going to believe those words that come out of his mouth because the track record up to now has been entirely in the other direction. And I completely agree with this. Disney is run by pedophiles and child abusers, and this is actually the comments on this. I cannot imagine a scenario in which I trust Disney ever again. This is sad. So this is actually within the last hour. These people are actually commenting on the article. So it's actually showing that people lost trust in Disney and they're never again going to have trust in Disney. Now moving right in from another article, we have from Scott Newgan. Okay, and this is part 1 of 8. So what is a woman? So this is actually, Scott Newman is actually a detransitioner. And he is actually going to be talking about how he was forced to go through all of these gender transitions and all of these other things that he was actually tricked into going through. So, I awoke confused. Where was I? What happened? And why was I laying on the bathroom floor soaked in urine mixed with blood? As I wiped my urine from inside my legs, I reached for something to help me with my feet. Still unaware of where I was, too weak to stand alone, I leaned forward onto the countertop for stability and looked into the mirror. Who was this middle-aged man staring back at me? Where was Keeley? Where did I go? What had I become? I felt Keeley on the inside, but within a matter of months, who I was gone. Shaking my head to alleviate the pain and disorientation I was experiencing, it all flashed back. I turned towards the toilet and I was there. I had passed out again from the pain of having 6 inches of bacteria infected here on the inside of my urethra. This time, the infection was so severe that I had a silicone tube placed in my arm to deliver IV antibiotics. Every morning, I awoke in pain. To the pain, it took everything I had to get dressed for work. Hobbled to my car, entered the hospital, and received my IV antibiotics. Survival itself became a struggle. Just 15 months prior, I had undergone foul palsy, a female-to-male bottom surgery in which doctors created a fallow using skin harvested from the arms and legs. This marked the 6th surgery I'd undergone within 2 years. It was the most traumatic of them all, and I began to endure the crippling pain associated with the side effects of a surgery I was told would be routine. Yet, Despite the dangers of such serious medical procedures, surgeons who enter the field of transgender surgery need little to no specialized training. Doctors looking to expand their horizons can essentially make a trip to the local Office Max and have a sign made saying transgender surgeon, hang it on a door, and poof, the transgender craze will supply them with the line of patients begging for surgery. Instantly, they have insurance companies approving $50,000 procedures with profit margins mirroring brain surgery. No questions asked. These surgeons have become the LGBTQ force field to protect them. These surgeons have the LGBTQ force shield to protect them from any criticism, as well as an army of activists to rationalize any negative publicity as transphobia. These unqualified surgeons hide behind LGBTQ ideology to dodge medical malpractice cases because transgender surgery is considered experimental, and without a set baseline to compare results, lawsuits are almost impossible. Many top-rated surgeons in the world refuse to conduct transgender bottom surgeries, not because of bigotry, but because they know that the risk associated with an elective surgery married by an incredibly high complication rate. However, for surgeons accustomed to making $300,000 a year of appendicuries, $300,000 a year for less complicated procedures. The allure for increasing their salary instantly by performing gender affirmation surgeries can often be impossible to resist. And as I experienced, many of the doctors taking part in these surgeries are content to ignore complications associated with them as long as the money keeps coming in. The complications associated with my surgery have rewritten the date to my tombstone. I have shortened my life with this decision, and I think about my future grandchildren every day, knowing I will never meet them. I may never meet them. I ache for them. And in my head, I'm constantly saying, I'm sorry, babies. I'm sorry, my babies and my future grandbabies. I am so sorry. I remember the indoctrination and the unease as I began the surgery roller coasters. And when looking back, embarrassment falls upon me. How could I have been so stupid at 42 years old as I deal with and try to recover from PTSD? I can still vividly recall the start of it all. My eyes felt heavy, but the bright white walls of the surgery clinic kept me alert as the IV bag started to take the edge off. You'd be fine, my fiancée Lorette said, but something inside me told me differently. Something inside me screamed at me to leap off the gurney as the nurse began to unlock my hospital bed and wheel me to the operating room. Lorette could see I was anxious and squeezed my hand harder. The gesture comforted me, but deep down, I felt troubled that she was so eager to help me see me wheeled into the surgery room. I wish I had more time to talk to her, but instead, it was all whirlwind. I wanted to tell her my fears, but instead, I smiled at her, hoping that at any moment she would say, "Baby, I know that you're doing this for me. And you don't have to, because I love you anyway, just the way you are. See, this is how most of the things happen. They think that they're not good enough the way that they are in their own skin. And they are good enough in their own skin. They are more than good. They're great. They're awesome. They're perfect in the way that they are. And they don't have to change any way that they are. And I'm speaking about they as in transgenders. Transgenders, people that want to go through these gender affirmation surgeries, are perfect the way that they are. They're awesome. They're incredible the way that they are in their own bodies. They don't have to change a damn thing about themselves. They don't have to change anything. And that's a good thing. They do not have to change anything to feel like they need to fit into society. They fit in perfectly with society. We have a hole that's just big enough for you in this society that's full with billions of people. And you as people do not need to change a single thing to fit into this society. Let's begin. Let's resume. Minutes seemed like hours as the terror grew inside of me until all at once it hit me. and I tried to lift my body in protest to say, "Stop, this is wrong," but it was too late. Neither Laura nor I said anything, but by the time I came to my senses, the drugs had taken over. The last thing I felt was a piercing cold of the metal operating table. As the andrologist said, "Count from 100, sir." I attempted to muster enough strength to say, "Wait, I'm not a sir. This is wrong." But all I emitted was an inaudible flicker of my eyelids, fighting to stay awake. As my mind raced, I wanted to stop, and it all faded to black. At the time of the surgery, it has only been 2.5 months since I started taking testosterone shots, but a transformation had already begun taking place. Almost instantly, my usual self-assurance, one of the critical components that made me an ultra-successful business sales executive, was slipping away from me. I wondered why. My confidence and my cocky air made people look up when I spoke at a sales presentation. I commanded attention. It was my seniority, though, that made me different. My decline in confidence started almost immediately after my first injection of testosterone, as it took several months to realize that I had stepped back from conversations and sales meetings. I stopped raising my hand and creating about strategies and fighting for accounts. I wanted to get in and out without too much noise. That was not who I was, and it confused me. The reality that even though I had dreamed of having been born a male, thinking of how much easier my life would have been, I was not a male. Throughout my life, I dug deep, trying to develop a fondness for who I was, and it was taking a long time to begin the process of accepting myself. I dreamt of becoming an ultra boy. My father wanted the king in our family, who would have it all. I would have been the alpha male, placed upon a pedestal, decorated with footballs, motorcycles, money, attention, dirt, and everything else I loved. Instead, who I really was became accepted, not celebrated, and I was painfully aware of that. I worked hard over the years, though, but despite finally starting to embrace my uniqueness, I was unable to resist the fantasy of what I was told medical transition could accomplish. The complications and hurdles were skimmed over, and my embrace of what I thought was self-acceptance was not established enough to fight the dream I had played in my mind constantly as a child. The idea of fitting into a puzzle that I felt was always denied to me was something I could not shake. At 42, when the medical industry told me that I could be born again male, I believed them. Within 2.5 months of testosterone treatments, pronouns were changing. People at work started to stare, and I was painfully aware. I began doubting myself and felt held back. I wanted to talk to Lorette, but she wrapped herself up in what my transition did for us as a couple, which supposedly fixed everything on paper. This was also nothing available to help me. On the internet, in books, or in YouTube videos, the detailed of emotional side of transition. Only joyful transgender people who've been magically transformed could be found. That's exactly the manipulation in the propaganda that these people in the LGBTQ community want you to find. They want you to find all happy people. They want you to find, oh, this is the best thing you could possibly do for yourself, but it's not. It's not that best thing that you can do for yourself. It's not even in the top 100, not even in the top 1,000 best thing that you can do for yourself, because you're putting yourself in a position that you do not know the long-term side effects of what you're doing to yourself, and it's awful that this person, even at 42, was manipulated into doing this. I was surprised at how quickly I was able to push the transition process along, considering the fact that I had only been on testosterone for a short period of time. It didn't seem to matter to the medical professionals. They were all too eager to continue with the procedures and swipe the credit card, obviously, because they love the money. The happy, light-hearted salesmanship of a medical transition and its blunt reality didn't match up. Doctors and medical transition proponents didn't prepare you for the transition-related post-traumatic stress disorders. They didn't mention the post-traumatic stress disorders, PTSD, or any other multiple hardship because it was considered transphobic. I want to tell my story so that others can hear what the medical industry is too afraid to say out loud. The gender transition surgery is not the magic solution that doctors, the media, and culture describe. I learned from this experience that human beings are convinced of anything I rendered at the right time, the right way, and by the right people. I am no exception. Now I want to protect others from the same lies I fell for because the truth is worth it. Yeah, I completely agree with every single thing Matt Nugent said. I actually love Matt Nugent. He actually, technically it's a she. She actually did a really, really, really good job in What is a Woman. She did a really, really good job in arguing with Candace Owens in the first episode of Taboo. It's available on the Daily Wire Plus platform if you did want to check that out. We're going to actually skip the rest of the articles I have planned because I did want to get to the drama of the week because it's actually the Project Veritas thing that I was talking about at the very beginning of this show. So without further ado, let's begin.
I'm like an addict, do I gotta have it. I ain't even playing, got a really bad habit. If it moves, gotta grab it. Fuse like a magnet, lose, won't have it till I'm doomed in a casket.
Okay, so in this section, we're going to be digging into the Chicago dean saying that he watched as his kids got handed sex toys to look at in class. This is obviously disgusting, and he should be held responsible for permitting this in a school. You know, it just sucks because you would think that you would send your kids to a private school to get away from all the manipulation and all the propaganda that the public schools have to offer, but it's quite the opposite. Because of the fact that you are sending your kids to a private school, it does not have to comply with any of the standards that the public school has. And it does not have to go and be accepted first from anything. And it does not even have to be out in the open because it's a private school. So with this being said, these private schools can get these private schools can get away with a lot more, but very secretive. So let's dig into exactly what Project Veritas has because it's very, very interesting. So elite Chicago private schools dean of students bragged about bringing LGBTQ health center to teach queer sex to minors. That's a really cool part of my job, passing around dildos and butt plugs, using lube versus using spit. Joseph Bruno, dean of students. So instead of just reading all this, we're just going to be watching the video because it actually just shows this in the video.
I had like our LGBTQ plus health center come in. They were passing around butt plugs and dildos to my students, talking about queer sex, using lube versus using spit.
Meet Joe Bruno, Dean of Students at the prestigious Francis W. Parker Private School in Chicago, which happens to charge $40,000 per student.
They're just like passing around dildos, butt plugs. The kids are just playing with them. They're like, how does this butt plug work? How does this work? That's a really cool part of my job.
Parents might be stunned to learn that Bruno's version of love and acceptance means handing out sex toys to underage students.
So I've been the dean for 4 years. During Pride, we do a Pride Week every year, and I had our LGBTQ plus health center come in. They were passing around butt plugs and dildos to my students, talking about queer sex, using lube versus using spit.
We're gonna actually put a pause here. So, why are you talking about? This is an elementary school. Why are you talking about butt plugs versus using lube versus using spit? Why are you talking about these things? You're talking about these things during LGBTQ week with elementary school people. This is disgusting. Why are you talking about sex with children? This is exactly what we're saying. You're teaching children sex. You're sexualizing children. And then you say that you're not. And then we show you these things that you are, these examples that you are doing these things. And then you say, no, it's a great thing that this is happening. No, it's not a great thing that this is happening. No kid should be talking about sex. No kid should be being taught sex. Not in elementary school, goddammit.
The LGBTQ plus health center came in to talk to my high school students. They're just passing around dildos, butt plugs. The kids are just playing with them. looking at them.
in the school.
Yeah, they're just looking at the dildos, they're looking at the butt plugs. Like, oh yeah, let's play with this. And what are you talking about? These are elementary school people.
in a classroom.
Wow.
Yeah. While I'm sitting there. And we had a drag queen come in, pass out cookies and brownies and do photos. And
So amazing. And everybody's cool with that, like the butt plugs and the dildos. Nobody complains.
no,
I mean, if the parents found out, would they?
no, it's queer sex. This is the drag queen that came
Oh,
in.
and of course,
her name?
this person
Alexis
is
Bevels.
has the
Alexis?
fingers painted and everything. Oh yeah. But of course, oh wait, and CNN would not like this Pride event. No, because that mask on the kid over there on the left-hand side. Oh, he does not have it over the nose. Oh no. I'm surprised the drag queen doesn't have a mask on. So the kids have to wear a mask, but the drag queen doesn't? What are you talking about?
Was there?
Or hung out in my office.
You have so much freedom, so much wiggle room.
So much freedom, so much money
I mean, having
to
lube
do
and
stuff.
trustees are okay with that too. They don't know.
They would. It's like I wouldn't even like run it by them. Like, why would I run it by them? They would be like, "Oh my god, that's wonderful."
Like, how old were the kids with the classroom?
14, 18. They're like, how does this butt work? How do we do, like, how does this work?
Right.
So yeah, that's a really like cool part of my job is I don't have to worry about stuff like that.
Yeah, very, very cool part of your job. You don't have to worry about stuff like that. You do not have to worry about, oh, the teacher's finding out. I mean, the money managers finding out, or the parents have to find out. You don't have to worry about that. That's not just part of your job. So actually, the school did release a statement on this, and they're actually standing up for the dean of students. The statement that the Parker community put out, it said, and this is actually from Dan Frank, which is the principal. So, dear Parker community, at Parker, we care deeply about the health, well-being, and development of our students. Our programs are designed to help cultivate not only physical and emotional well-being, but also the sense of belonging. This is central to our mission. That's why we are heartbroken to learn that one of our colleagues' works have been severely misrepresented for a malicious purpose. Project Veritas is a far-right activist group that produces descriptively edited videos of secret recordings in an effort to discredit mainstream media's organizations, progressive groups, and educational institutions. Last week, at an NAIS, National Association for Independent Schools, People of Color conference, one of our employees was targeted by this group and misled to believe he was conversating with another conference attendee over a coffee. He was filmed about his knowledge or permission while describing one example of our inclusive LGBTQ plus affirming and comprehensive approach to sex education. This group has now edited this video with the malicious intent in launching it publicly tonight. Please know this video contains descriptive language. If you choose to view it, we ask you not to share it because it will add to its viral power. So don't share it. Don't share it, people. You can watch it. Yeah, please watch it. But don't watch it, but maybe watch it. But don't share it. Definitely not. We do not want people finding out about this. No. Obviously, they don't want to find people finding out about this because this is actually the dean of students actually saying this. This is disgusting. Earlier this week, this same group attended to ambush our employee at school and was escorted off the campus without incident by our security. While we have no reason to believe this was a threat to physical safety of our community, we have worked with the Alberman's office, and police have been implemented higher security measures. You may already been noticed increased police presence outside of the school. So they have police all around the school now to protect them from questions being asked. They have increased security now because questions are being asked. Why? Security is always needed at a school, but now you're putting more security in. Never mind all the school shootings that happened over the last year. Now you're gonna put security in now that people are asking questions about you teaching kids about dildos and butt plugs? Are you kidding me? It's just, this school should be shut down. That school is not even a school. And this, sadly, is not the only example that we have from schools actually indoctrinating students to think a certain way, or indoctrinating them to actually into actually like touching these very sexual toys. It's just very upsetting to see this live on video. Now, obviously, it's not out of context. Even if it was out of context, what context are you talking about? Kids playing with dildos? Like, what context is that? Yeah, out of context. No, out of context is not bad. I think you need to relearn the definition of out of context. But with that being said, thank you all for watching. Thank you all for enjoying. And I hope that you have a great rest of your day. If you did enjoy this video, please look at the link down below to see all my other content available for the Arujo Studios. And you can check out my personal channel, Demetrius Arujo, here on YouTube. YouTube.com/@Demetrius Arujo. Thank you all for watching, and I hope that you have a great rest of your day. Hey, were you really going to click off this video before leaving a like and subscribing down below? Wow, so rude.